That's great. Super, brilliant. Thank you so much, guys. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining us this evening. I am absolutely delighted to welcome you to the second of these project groups. Interestingly, this is actually group one, but because I'm going away on Thursday, the other group got their session brought forward. But even so, this is group one. This was the first group. So it's lovely to welcome you to support. We've got 10 photographers this evening. Unfortunately, one of them can't join us, but everybody else is here with us this evening. So, for those of you who aren't aware of what all of this is about, this is an evening especially to introduce you to the projects of 10 individuals who have been on the projects mentoring course with me this year. And they all signed up last year, and it's been a wonderful journey this year. So it was a journey of exploration, support, accountability, achieving a project, achieving an outcome. And quite often, the end project wasn't actually maybe the first outcome that people wanted to achieve. And it's been amazing also to see the amount of skills that people have built up this year. It's just been absolutely fantastic learning from each other, because we have a Facebook community as well. So what you see on these walls tonight is just a tiny bit of these guys' journeys. Having to choose what to put on the wall was actually a massive challenge for some of them because very prolific group with all the posting and things in Facebook. So what you're seeing is just like the tiniest bit of their journey. And those of you that know individuals will know probably lots more about it. So it's worth mentioning that everybody started at the same point, although some people did come in at the beginning of the year with an idea of what they were going to do. Even those that came in with an idea, quite a lot of them changed it a little bit, altered it a little bit. Some of them completed more than one project during the year as well. So hats off to those guys. And it's just been a wonderful, wonderful experience. So just, sorry. It's so how the year has worked is that every other month we have investigated a subject. And so we started in January with an intro to the course, looking at what projects actually are, how to get creativity and ideas flowing, and looking at some exercises to get sort of exploring possibilities of how to get project ideas going. In March, we did all about cohesivity, how to make projects work together on the wall. In May, we looked at artist statements. July, we did curating of sets of images. In September, we looked at some technical aspects. We had a look at a real live exhibition that I'd been part of and looked at producing a book. And then in November, these guys all got together and had a preview of the exhibition. And then in between each of those months, all the other months, we got together and everybody got feedback and supported each other on their projects to make sure they kept going. So it's been a really, really lovely year. And then recently, everybody's had a one-to-one to look at the projects and actually to curate what you see on the wall, which is actually a massive challenge as well. So I would like to take you into the exhibition, and just let me get in there. And I will just give you a little heads up for those of you who haven't. Oh, that's the wrong photos. Just a little heads up for those of you who haven't used an exhibition like this before or been in. Let me just do that. When you come in here, what it's going to give you as a viewer, you are going to have this option to either come in and follow a guided tour, or you can take your own route around it. Now, if you are not too savvy at using these sort of the mouse or the controls, what I would suggest is you just click on the guided tour, and the guided tour will take you to every single place mat within the exhibition, one at a time on the way around. It hesitates for about 2 to 3 seconds each. You do have the chance to press pause. You do have the chance to go on regardless of whether if you're done with looking at some words. And you can explore the whole thing. It does go round in a strange order, bizarrely, not quite the order we're going to look tonight, but it's a lovely, easy way to just sit and enjoy the experience. If, however, you would like that feeling of actually walking around the exhibition, you can use your mouse to move left and right or forwards and backwards by using the keys on the mouse, or you can use these arrows over on the right-hand side and you can guide yourself around the exhibition. I will say the faster you the more smoothly or the faster your computer is, the faster you will move when you press the mouse in the exhibition. So just be aware that if you've got a very super fast computer, you will whiz down the corridor and you'll have to turn around and come back again. So that's just a hint. I am going to introduce you to the other points and things as we go through this evening. You will see how to make the most of the information button, that kind of thing. As I mentioned already, part of this course was actually to do an artist statement. And so on every single wall, what you will do is see an artist statement. I would really encourage you, when you come back in to have a look at the exhibition, I'd really encourage you to have a look at the artist statements. All you do on any of these to get in is just click on the point middle of something, and it will take it in and it will center it for you, and it will give you lovely and big. So although it might look small in the distance here, you just need to click on it with your mouse and it will take it and fill the whole screen up with what you're looking at. The artist statement gives you so much. It allows you to explore a little bit of what the thought process going on behind the photos, and in some of these it's really, really useful. And then on every photo, what you will see is a little I button as well, which is an information button. So some of these photos also have little stories behind them that haven't gone on the wall, or information about how they've been made, that kind of thing. So I really, really encourage you to go out and take your own time after this evening and have a lovely, lovely explore. So I'd like to just introduce the group before we get started, because we've got 10 fantastic individuals from around the world. We've got Lou and Tiago from France. They don't actually live that far away from each other, given how big France is. We have Anne from Germany, Sarah from the UK, Hedva from Israel, Sim from the UK, Paulina from Canada, Sean from Ireland, Judith from the USA, and Caroline from the UK. So a really, really international group, which has just been really, really lovely to be part of. And also, I'd just like to say, in this group, I have been blessed with meeting a number of these guys in person as well. And it's just been absolutely joyous to be doing this and having met them as well, which is really, really lovely. So, without further ado, I am just going to bring you to the first person who we are going to have introduced to us this evening. And I just want to try and get this centered so that you can see the whole thing at once while she starts talking. Are you there, Lou? Yes, I can see you're ready to go. Brilliant.
I unmuted myself,
You've
yes.
unmuted yourself. That's a good start. Brilliant. Now, I've been a follower and an envious follower of Lou's beautiful images from her home in France for a long, long time. And Lou has the most wonderful website, and she tells wonderful stories on that website as well, which is just lovely. But she captures the most unique landscapes, emotion, and beauty that she sees literally from her back garden, which is becoming quite a theme in some of these projects. So this is an amazing journey from Lou, and it's only just really getting started. But I'm going to let Lou introduce her project to you, and hopefully she's going to tell you a little bit more about that. Is that good, Lou?
Yeah, that's great. Thank you, Charlie. What a lovely introduction. And thanks to everybody for coming tonight and supporting us. That's amazing. I'd sort of started the year off with quite a set idea of what my project was going to be about. And I thought I wanted to do the next level of my guild qualification. And I thought, oh, this would be a really good opportunity. But actually, from the first session, I realized that actually I would be much better off doing something, using this opportunity to do something more creative. And meeting everybody in the group, it really sort of changed my idea about what I wanted to do. I knew I wanted to do a project that was based on my garden and the hills where I live, which is in the Cevennes in southern France. It's a very beautiful, wild, mountainous region, which I've loved. Been here now 15 years. And during lockdown, I'd written stories about my life here once a month for the year. And I thought, well, maybe I could do something similar with a camera. Um, but I wasn't quite sure how it was all going to come together. And then, well, it took a few months, but in May, my brother-in-law sent me an article about an ancient Japanese calendar, which actually was used in Japan for hundreds of years. And this calendar was broken down not into 4 seasons as we know it, but first of all, 24 main divisions, or seki, as they're called. And then this was further broken down into each seki point. I'm going to lose you here. Has 3 co-points within it, and these are micro seasons. So actually, throughout the year, there are 72 micro seasons, and these actually represent small transformations in nature. And each ko and seki point has beautiful poetical titles. And I knew I was halfway through reading the article, and I absolutely knew this was my project. This is what I wanted to do. So that was sort of very exciting. Um, so I started off with the 24 main divisions in the year, and I decided I wanted to make these in black and white, which was it was quite an interesting challenge to actually depict seasonal the feelings based around different seasons in black and white, because we tend to rely on color a lot, seasonal color. So I had to think about more about tones and textures, and I really enjoyed that. And I think it helped to give my project structure. So I have my 24 black and white pictures, which are not all done yet. And within those are 3 micro seasons of around 5 days each. And these are in color. And actually, what I found was, which was great, having such tight structure and framework allowed me to be actually very creative with my photography, and it sort of freed me up to take different approaches according to what I felt the shot required, or the emotion I wanted to give. So I used ICM, intentional camera movement, and sometimes it was multiple exposure or macro, or a straight photo. And so, that's been wonderful to really experiment with that. And I think with the support of the whole group as well, and seeing what everybody else was doing, that really allowed for that creative freedom. And the Seki points these kind of mark the lunar points of the calendar. So those are the black and white ones. It's, I think, really allowed me as well, spending all this time, because it's all my photos are taken either in my garden or around in the hills, and it's become a sort of quite it's taken on its own rhythm, and actually every 5 days I'm either writing or taking a photo, or both, to mark my own micro seasons. And I've created my own titles, so it kind of makes sense to where I am. And yes, I think that's, I think it's such a privilege actually to spend so much time in nature, and to see those ebbs and flows of life, and being able to try and capture some of that with my photography. So yeah, it's been an amazing year, and I must thank Charlie for that opportunity. But my project, it's ongoing. It'll be on for next year. So this is just a little. I tried to choose photos that would give you an overview of what my project is about, as it will be going on through to next year.
Fantastic. Absolutely wonderful. And I know what a challenge this has been to choose like 10 pictures to put on the wall.
No, so hard.
And also like the fact that this journey, this project almost didn't get started till the middle of the year, did it?
No, it didn't. And I was
started.
kind of starting to get into panic mode, and it's just like it wasn't coming together. And then literally had a light bulb moment, which was wonderful. So yeah. I
Yeah.
think when you fall on a project and it's the right one, it's very exciting.
Yeah. And
Mhm.
it's really interesting, because the first session we looked at things that could get like the ideas going, and we had poems and articles and stories and all that kind of stuff. So it's really, really
That really
lovely.
helps. I think also just spending time, in a space with actually not trying to do anything, just, to be there and just let thoughts come and go. And I think, I think all those things that really help trying rather than trying to force it, and got there in the end.
Yeah. It's an absolutely beautiful collection of images. And I think the black and white works really, really well with the colors. And I really love what you've done with choosing to break it up and choose the seasons. I mean, to most people sat here, they're probably thinking, my goodness, four seasons and sort of creating work from four seasons, but however many,
It's
all of
something to
these
do,
different ones
yeah.
you've
But
got.
it's a beautiful. I mean, people should have a look at the Japanese calendar. It's so poetical. It's beautiful. So it was a wonderful structure to work with,
Yeah,
to be
brilliant.
honest. Yeah.
And this is going on till next year, isn't it? At least,
It
isn't it?
is,
You're
yes. I
traveling.
have to take holidays at different times of the year.
That's
So because I
dedicated.
want a complete picture, it will be so every 5 days there will be a photograph and words, and so it
Yeah.
will be hopefully it will be a book at the end, or and we'll see. But yeah.
Brilliant. It's having wonderful having you in the group. And I absolutely love, I so want to come and visit you. And I'm hopefully going to come and
Yes.
visit you to see all this wonderful nature and just loveliness.
Very lucky if it's a beautiful region. Yeah.
Super. Thank you so much, Lou. It's absolutely lovely. And as I said, do go and have a look at Lou's artist statement, and you will find this is what I'll show you here. So if you pick an image here, any image, you will find that here on the top right hand corner you will find an I button, and if you click on the I, Lou's got quite a lot of writing behind hers, so there's a little bit more of a story to her pictures behind them. So do go and click on them with the I button so you can go and read the extra information she's written. You'll find different amounts, just different varying amounts from different people as you go round. So some will have a lots behind and some won't have any behind. It's just a personal choice as to what goes with the photos. So brilliant. Right, next, just going to try and gather you around here. Now, I said I had Lou and Tiago are not. France is quite big, but Lou and Tiago are not a million miles apart from each other as France goes, both down sort of in the south of the area. Now, Tiago has written something for me, but we're going to see if the Wi-Fi will work this evening because sometimes it does and sometimes it doesn't. Despite France being quite a reasonable country, we have struggled this year quite a lot with Tiago's sound, but he's been so prolific in this project of work. And again, Tiago's work, you are just seeing a tiny snippet of this one project. That said, Tiago did not just follow one project, he has followed a number of projects this year. And it's not just, this project is it's just been a beautiful thing for us all to see and to see the culmination of it as well, exploring the multiple exposure and the ICM. So, should we give it a go, Tiago, and see how your sound is this evening? Because it would be lovely if you could
Yes.
introduce it instead of me.
Yeah, let's try. You hear me?
I can hear you at the
Is
moment.
it
Maybe
okay?
just make sure you don't speak too fast, and then maybe it'll flow a little better.
I will try that. Okay, so my name is Tiago. I am a binational. I was born in Portugal and I married a French girl. So I have the nationality and I live in Nice in the France. And all my life I have been traveling around the world, my job and family studying. And when I retired, um, I must say that things stopped. Or just keep traveling for 8 days, things like that. That's all. And so I decided last year to start working on ICM exposure. And after a few attempts, I joined Charlie's group because I wanted to work on ICM and I wanted also to work together with other people. So I found the company of 10 wonderful persons that we really commented our work. And I loved also working with Charlie because she helped everybody, especially me, because I started my year with two projects. One, it's to make just part of 10 picture exhibitions. So the project is finished, the photos are finished, but I still have to make a book out of it. And the other project about flowers. And after the third month in the group, I decided to let it go and not do that project. I still remember the face of Charlie becoming very happy when she heard me that I was dropping the project. And I started to think, working on these imaginary landscapes of my garden, which was just a little thing that I was doing on the side. And I must say that I live east, but outside the city, I have quite a big garden with a beautiful view. And I have been all my life a riser. So honestly, when I wake up, it's night. So I go out, feed my cats because we have a lot of cats here in the region, and I serve myself espresso because I lived in Italy for 6 years. And my pleasure is to go out in my gardens with a warm cup of coffee and watch the rise. And I've been doing that for years already. And I have thousands of sunrises taken from my garden. And well, taking the sunrise, photographing the same sunrise every morning, sometimes it's quite a little bit dull. So I decided to work my sunrises, my photography, with ICM and multi-exposure. And I discovered that when I started to master my movements, and I noticed also that according to the timing of the photo, if it was still night or if the sun was already out, I could make uh, different photos from exactly the same thing. I couldn't make 10 photos for the exhibition. There are only 9 of them. But what you see, it's exactly the same thing, the same point of view. And it's all around 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock maximum. And it's the movement and the multiple exposures that makes it the difference. And what was very interesting is that I could make different things out of the same image. And I started immediately started thinking about what is the truth on a photo. It's what we see or what we do with the photo, with the movement, and what is the reality. It's what I see or what I make with my camera. And all those things, well, I had a wonderful time working on that. And I started also imagining places that could look like that in the reality. So if you go and you look at the photos and the legends on the photos, yeah, I have given a name of a place where I have never been there. The first one, it's I can't even pronounce it anymore. It's the sea. It's inside the sea. It's the lowest trench in the Pacific Ocean, in the planet as well. That's the one. And it's part of that trench is part Russia, part Japan. And this one, it's imagined Magellan crossing discovering the way to go from the Atlantic to the Pacific Ocean. In reality, it's my garden and the view of my garden and the spotlights that you see are the cars driving in the hill in front of my house. And this one, I kept on in South Africa because there is a tempest, and that region in South Africa, it's always rough and tough sea with big, I don't know, waves. Uh, Next one, it's something that I would like to see one day. It's a savanna on fire because sometimes it gets fire. I've been already to Africa a couple of times and visit the savanna regions, but I never saw those in fire. And this one I can't remember anymore what the name I gave this. It's a mountain in Indonesia, in one of the cities in Indonesia, Pushka. Yeah, thank you, Charlie. This one, it's a desert in the South America, in Chile, Atacama, which I've never seen. This one is Rocky Mountains in Canada or USA. This one is the Gobi Desert. And we finished this travel with a place that I called Anywhere because I can go anywhere in the world. And I want to be there. So thanks for showing around. And during our discussions in the group, I introduced the group to a Portuguese poet that I love called Fernando Pessoa. And I'm going to give you a sentence that he said, and it's about traveling. Life is what we make out of it. The journey is the traveler. What we see is not what we see, but what we are. Thank you.
Absolutely wonderful. Thank you, Tiago. And I am so delighted that you're able to speak this evening with the 5G instead of the normal Wi-Fi. It's absolutely brilliant. It's so lovely to have you talk through your images. Well, hang on a minute. Let me just sort that. Do you have a favorite? I'm intrigued to know.
Um, I think it's the Anywhere
Anyway,
because I love those reds. My heart is between the Anywhere and the Gobi Desert. I think it's the reds.
yeah, yeah. I
Make
think
them.
this I think it's absolutely fantastic. You'll see other people in the set as well who have worked literally on their own doorstep or in their own garden this evening as well. But this is something very special to be able to create different countries from your own garden. And I think an absolutely beautiful project. And Tiago's made an awful lot more images. So to decide which ones to put on the image, which ones to put in here was quite a challenge for you, wasn't it?
Yes.
Yeah. And are you going to do anything else with them? Are you going to make a book or anything, Tiago, or is that?
Yes, I'm going to make a book
Yeah.
about what it's for me to travel, to go and find other people and other places, what was the importance for me and for anyone as well. The things that I learned from other cultures, other countries, and I wanted to use. As a matter of fact, my book, I started with 21 photos to put in the book, and I love so much this selection that I decided to make a book with only the 9 photos that I showed here tonight.
Oh, wow. Gosh, that's amazing. Oh, fantastic.
And it will be stronger. I'm going to use one photo that's not here just as a cover, the cover.
Yeah.
And I didn't select it to show it tonight because
Doing next thing, you want to go look out the window?
sorry.
Sorry, that's somebody that's not muted. Let me just find out who that is and I'll mute them. That's all right. That wasn't me, Tiago, sorry.
I have the cover of the book will be one photo that is not here, but it's a very beautiful photo. It's my favorite, as a matter of fact. But it doesn't fit in,
Ah.
so I'm going to use it as a cover.
Yeah, brilliant. An absolutely wonderful selection. Thank you so much for sharing your journey with us, Tiago. And I can imagine I'd quite like to stand there in your garden with an espresso first thing in the morning, and that be the first thing I see. I can imagine it must be wonderful. So thank you so much, Tiago.
Thank you.
Brilliant. Right. Next, I'm just going to swing round here and try and get straight onto these pictures so you can see them all at once. It takes a little bit of jiggling, but we've got there. Interestingly, I didn't say before, but each of the rooms has different walls within it. And I work with each of these guys here to pick the right wall for the projects that they've got. So you'll see that some walls work brilliantly. Some projects work brilliantly around two walls. Others work brilliantly literally on one long wall. And then some projects are working better on three sides, or we've even got some different setups in the middle of this room as well, because we've got 10 people in this one. But this is Anne's work, and Anne has been on an amazing journey this year. And it was absolute delight to meet her in person in April when we were in Scotland together. Um, and at that point, I believe she had a very different project in mind. But what you see on the walls is just like a tiny piece of Anne's bigger project. And when I say bigger, it is a monster, I think, and would not mind me saying that her enthusiasm, her sort of enjoyment, and having captured the concept and having learned the ICM skills, I think it's fair to say that Anne has nailed people ICM photography, and it is definitely not an easy genre to work with. So she's developed so many skills this year, and I know for a fact that choosing what to put on these three walls was an absolutely massive challenge. So, would you like to tell us about your project, Anne?
Yeah, sure, I will. Do you hear me, Charlie?
Yep. Yes,
Okay,
I hear you. Yep.
wonderful. Yeah, a monster. It's a good word. When I think about my journey, I think it just started 2 years ago. I don't know if you remember, I got my first course with you as a birthday present.
Yep.
And was introduced to ICM, and that was a game changer. It opened so much doors to my own creativity again, and so I'm so glad that I met you. Yeah, people in motion. When I thought about that project, it was first just a technical challenge. Can I do it? Can I make these pictures to just with moving objects? It is so much difficult because you don't have a second chance. You just get it, or the chance is gone. So I had to make a lot of failed pictures, and I had to learn to be more patient with myself. But it was always worth it because when I got it, this one moment when everything was right, when I saw it on the back of my camera, that I got the feeling and the motion and everything I wanted. It was a pure joy. So I kept going, and it's just to put a lot more into one picture. It's about energy. It's about fragile delicacy of two people moving with each other, and emotional expression. So that's what ICM is for me, just to make my own reality, to create a picture. Nobody else. It's my feeling I want to get in the picture. Yeah, it's a monster. In the middle of the year, I learned that there's a lot more than just to move from here to there. Movement is everything in our life, from our first heartbeat to our last breath we take. So it changed to think about my project, and I realized it's a lot more to do. It's a lot more than just a sportman running or a bicycle, driving a bicycle. So the first, can you just wait a little bit, Charlie?
Yep.
back to the four. Yeah. The four pictures I put at sides are about life, from the child, a couple and an old couple just still moving, just with their walking sticks. And you could put on more. Heart is moving, and breathe every moment. It's about life movement. Yeah, you can just skip on. Yeah, and it's an ongoing project, just like Loose, and I don't know where it will end. I think it will be a book someday. I don't know when, but yeah.
Brilliant. It's been a fantastic project to see unfold, Lou. See unfold here, and it's just been wonderful, and just even the choices you had to make to decide what to put on the wall here, and were absolutely phenomenal, weren't they? So what we've done is put some small groups of images. So these ones, like you were just saying, it's when we all think of movement, we do just think immediately of the obvious movements, don't we?
Yeah.
Yeah. We've got
Yeah,
bike.
and the pictures were one of the first I made, the high jumper and the hurdle runner. So yeah, it's just the energy the people have, and to compete and to try to win.
Yeah, yeah. And then you went on to do dancers and ice skaters, none of which are very easy. And every time, trying to predict the movements that any of them are going to do is probably quite difficult, isn't it?
Yeah. Yes. And I have a lot of pictures. They are really awful.
I'm in awe of what you've managed to master with this year, Anne. And I know for a fact that Anne is continuing now with the ice skating, aren't you? Because that's come round again this season. And I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure it's a lot easier this year than it
Yeah.
was this time last year, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's a lot easier because it's more predictable for me. It's
Yeah,
just it's not my first day to do it.
yeah. That's brilliant. It's been an absolute joy to have you in the group, Anne, and absolutely love it. And I think the book could be a monster book as well. So I look
Maybe.
forward to seeing whether how you manage to figure out what to put in that and what not to put in. It might be a bit longer than Tiago's 9 picture book. So yeah, brilliant. Thank you so much, Anne. It's lovely to have a look at the images with you and hear the idea behind where they all came from. All right.
Thank you.
Right, now through into the next room. We have a different room configuration for this one because we've got 10 people in this group, so I had to make a different room for this one. So here we have Hedva, and Hedva is another individual that I've had the pleasure to meet in person. She came out and joined me here in the Tulips, and she's also followed a number of courses with me. And this year was a year of exploration in her photography, a chance to create a body of work that embraced all her learning in ICM and multiple exposure, and it's continuing as well as we speak. Starting with a concept and an idea and generation very early on, she's been really open to exploring these concepts and ideas in a continuing way throughout the year. The project has evolved and evolved and evolved. Every month we've seen new work come out of this project, and it's been fascinating. It wasn't until we put what we were putting on the walls, literally, that I kind of knew what was going to appear, which has been absolutely fantastic. I love the way she introduces her work with a quote from Henry Thoreau. The question is not what you look at, but what you see. Would you like to tell us a little bit more about your project, Hedva?
Sure. Thank you, Charlie. Firstly, hello to everybody, and thanks so much for joining us this evening. My name is Hetva and I live in Israel. As Charlie said, I've been dabbling with ICM for a few years and I've had the privilege of attending several of Charlie's online courses, during which I've been both expanded on previous knowledge as well as being exposed to new techniques. The choice for this project was to use reflections. And when I said that to Charlie, she said, and I need to demonstrate, that's a big topic. So, of course, I had to be reined in a little bit, and Charlie helped whittle down my many ideas. And I settled on water as my main canvas, but single shots weren't going to be enough. So I was experimenting with overlaying water with other elements. What happens when you blend water and metal? What happens when you combine an organic element with a man-made one? And since I enjoy solving mysteries, this project afforded me the challenge of creating some conundrums and asking the viewer to look further than the first impression of the images. I've called my project Rhapsody in Blue, since blue is my favorite color. And the pictures were taken at the beach not far from where I live, as well as a couple of local parks that I frequent. In most of the photographs, the blues are muted, hopefully to give one a sense of calm, but at the same time to challenge you and to encourage you to ask yourselves, what do I see?
Fantastic, Hedva. That's a lovely introduction. And Hedva's got Hedva took this corner of this room, which is quite an interesting one for us to lay out, wasn't it, Hedva, to figure out how it was all going to go together.
Right.
But it's been a fantastic journey. Yes, I never realized when I said it was this big that you couldn't see the edges of my hands, how big it really was when you said. But it has been fascinating because you didn't just decide on one thing. You did go really exploring all the possibilities, and you kind of went around and sort of you didn't just choose one thing straight away, did you? You kind of explored each stage and got to what's on the wall through kind of a learning experience, wasn't it?
Right, right. So here's an example of can we blend water and metal?
From the
And these two pictures are from the marina, my local marina.
yeah. Now these ones are a little bit different, aren't they?
Right, right. These the colors are a little more dynamic. And I did mention that some of my pictures are muted, but these are the ones that I think have the most vibrancy to them. And what I was fascinated by was that by moving the camera on the water and in different on different subjects, that I actually got the same lines and the same movement out of it. So it almost feels like taking a paintbrush and creating something fascinating.
A lovely description. Yeah, these the colours in this are just beautiful, like rainbows. So yeah, really, really lovely. And then we go on to this wall is a little bit more, we'll say we did work on cohesivity during the year, and I feel this wall works really, really well as a set of images on here. So these ones were exploring the techniques of sort of there's ICM and multiple exposure in these ones, aren't there?
Right, right. And once again, it's mostly water and metal. The reflections of metal in this particular one. Again, the reflections here, you can actually probably work out what they are, but I'm keeping this as a mystery. I'm not going to reveal what it is that I've taken.
Yeah.
And the water as a canvas was really wonderful because you can do so much with it. You know, you just go onto a slow shutter speed and you get the water moving, doing the work for you.
Yeah, that's absolutely beautiful.
And the last one is my boat going off into the blue.
How wonderful. That's really, really lovely. And then you have some lovely quotes here as well, which is really, really
Right.
lovely.
photography came after painting, and so many photographers were inspired by artists, and I found these quotes by artists who had a good feeling about the color blue.
Yeah. It was always my favorite color till I went to New Zealand and then I fell in love with green. I still love blue a lot as well, but it's green and blue. It's yeah. It's been a lovely journey with you this year, Hedva. It's been so lovely. And again, you had a challenge of deciding. I think once you decided what you wanted the project to be about, in the end, it came together quite nicely, didn't it? Trying to decide which images to put on the wall here.
Yeah. And thank you, because it's been a joy being in the group and having your wonderful feedback. So
Yeah.
I've really enjoyed it.
Super. Thank you so much for having these lovely images on the wall and sharing them with us. And yeah, take the time to have a wander around those when you come back in, as all of the other ones. Um, Now, it's like trying to maneuver a car in a car park. It's a good thing I'm not in a Dutch car park. Um, right. Let's just try and line myself up a little bit here, Sarah. Sorry, I'm trying to do my best and failing. A little bit, got more walls in this room. I'm going to rest there and let you have let's have a look. Sarah, so Sarah's year has been varied and explorative. It would be a really, really good way to describe it. She's truly embraced the idea of bringing images together in sets and curating images. She does these beautiful sets in sort of a portrait set and squares, and it's just been absolutely beautiful to see these little sets coming together in the group. The year's been an ongoing learning experience, and the set that you see on the wall really, I feel, embodies everything that has happened along the way to actually come together as a culmination of this set at the end. But the her ethos is very much about challenging the perception of what we really see. And I guess I should probably challenge most of you to know what you're looking at when you look at her work, but that shouldn't be a barrier at all to enjoying it, because I think sometimes, as Hedva said, not knowing what you're looking at can actually be really intriguing. Sarah also comes from not a million miles from where I was brought up, so a lot of the images I've absolutely loved seeing this year kind of take me home a little bit back to where I was brought up. So, Sarah, are you online? Would you like to explain
Am I online?
Yes, you are.
Can
I
you
can
hear
hear
me?
you loud and clear. That's
Fantastic.
great.
Great.
Brilliant.
Great. Okay. Hi everyone. Thank you for coming. It's lovely to see so many people. As Charlie said, I'm Sarah. From Northeast Essex, and I think that's a little theme that I will come back to in a moment. I only started using photography, enjoying photography as a sort of creative art form relatively recently. I did a course at my local adult learning centre, actually, basically about just learning how to photograph, learning about camera, and I absolutely loved it. And I just wanted to continue that journey. And I just looked around. I hadn't seen Charlie on YouTube and thought this whole ICM idea sounded fascinating. And then I saw that she was running a course. That I'd love to do that as a continuation of my photography journey. And originally, when I set out on this and we wanted to do a project, I absolutely thought I wanted to do a seasonal project because I'm really passionate about our local area. And this is where I come back to the Northeast Essex. Essex in the UK, for those of you that know the UK, has a very bad reputation, and people have a very bad idea of what it looks like and what it's like as a county. And it is absolutely beautiful in parts. So I live in an estuary area very close to where Charlie grew up in Suffolk. And I want to capture that beauty on camera. So I have started that as a project, and that's ongoing, and it's part of what I do. And through that, I realised that my sort of signature is a very muted colour palette and this idea of creating serenity and peace. So I prefer a lot of my images I create very early in the morning or later in the evening, I very rarely have people in them, but when I do, there's solitude and there's calm. But I also absolutely, as Charlie said, I really love cohesivity and sets and creating this idea of something that works together. And when Charlie said that the project needs to be completed basically before autumn had happened, I thought I can't do the seasons because I won't be able to include autumn. And that to me wasn't going to work for this. Obviously, I can carry on and do autumn myself independently. So I wanted to do something that was a micro project within this. And I think I actually stumbled upon this as a concept. I'd been out on a very gloomy day and I'd found these beautiful seed heads because I like photography to be about the flora and the fauna and the local, the nature. And I saw these seed heads and I thought, I can use these. I want to do something with them. Brought them home, and actually all of these images were created in my house using lighting and actually ICM, which for me was a very brave move because I don't really use it terribly often in my photography. And I wanted this idea that because my images are generally very spare and you don't necessarily know straight away what you're looking at. With these, I see these images and I actually see various things in them. And so I will say that for this one, when I look at it, I see a blue whale, but I have been very reluctant to name each of the pictures as we go round because I want people to look at them and see what they see themselves and feel what they feel. But I'm inviting you, if possible, to feel a sense of calm and to use these to be able to slow down and to think, and maybe each time you look at them to see something different. And as we go round, I was able to use different colours to create different feelings within this. So we've got the reds, and then we go and we have a different colour from the blues and the turquoises and the different movements. Again, each of these I can see something, but I invite you to see what you immediately what comes to mind. And then we go round to the yellows and the greens at the end. And the final thing that I found was very important with these is how I centered them and how I created a huge amount of space around them as well. So they're deliberately set on a large white canvas. So each of those images is not the whole canvas, but only a small part of it. So you're drawn to look actually into the picture rather than at the whole canvas. It's giving it space to breathe. So yes, I think that's my précis of the work, Charlie.
It's wonderful. And it is very, very different from what you started off with. And I'm very sorry if I said, I'm sorry, it has to be done by autumn and you can't possibly do a year. A seasonal
It's not your
project.
fault.
But I think it's absolutely fantastic. And what's absolutely amazing is how this appeared suddenly, how you kind of gone exploring and just found something and then took it further with the colors and the movements. And I think your set is just such a beautiful nod to how simple ICM can be, when it actually works literally on the movement and the colors. And I quite like the fact that you haven't given these titles because I think, just like you, I think it's absolutely lovely to be able to interpret them in however you want. I know when we went round, I did say, oh, that looks like such and such. And that looks like, I certainly see a dolphin in the first picture that we looked at.
Oh, really?
And
Okay, that's
or a whale. So I think it's always
yeah.
fascinating what people see in other people's pictures. So I think it's really, really lovely to be able to just look at the forms and the movements and the shapes and sort of imagine what they could mean and the sort of emotions underneath. It's absolutely beautiful. Really, really lovely set of images. So yeah, is it a finished project then, or is this something you're continuing to play with, or?
Think as a technique, it's definitely given me, it's a tiny starting point for this particular technique. And I just now I'm finding other ways to embrace this technique and take it in different directions. But yes, this is a sort of the tip of the iceberg, I think, as far as this technique goes.
Yeah, it's fantastic. And I really, really like how all the pictures are in the same shape holders, essentially, the sort of the portraits with the squares in the middle of them. I think they work really, really well. And then the white space, I think you're right. It really takes you into the movement and the color and the shape of what you happen to be looking. To think that these are all sea heads and sort of pieces of nature, I think it's absolutely fantastic. So brilliant. Thank you so much for sharing those, Sarah. And I look forward to seeing more of your seasonal work.
Yeah, thank you.
Brilliant. Right, I'm going to swing round here, take you into the corner here now. And the lovely thing about having such an international group is that you get to travel around the world in this exhibition. And so we have Sim on this wall in the corner here. And it's been a delight to work with Sim this year, exploring the amazing city of London. I expect most of you may not have even realised that this is London, except for the first image, maybe. And it's really fascinating to see London through her eyes. It's been just so wonderful. The colour and the energy is just been absolutely immense. And it's also really interesting because nearly all Sim's pictures this year, and also previously, have always been made with a phone. And that was one of those things. She said, can I join this group if I'm just using a phone? And I said, yeah, that would be absolutely fantastic to be able to show what is possible. And you're going to see these pictures, and it just goes to show that it really is not the camera that you're using, it's what you decide to do with it and how you want to interpret your subject matter. So Sim again is another very prolific producer of images, and each of these two images, behind each of these, there's probably something like 15 or 20 other images in the set. So Sim has got a lot of sets of work to go on, and it was, I think, probably a massive job to pick the images that went on the wall. But if you're there, Sim, if you would like to tell us a little bit about the project, that would be lovely.
Thanks, Charlie,
Yeah.
for the introduction, and also thank you everyone for joining us this evening. There's been so much work going on. Before I started, I really was reminded by my family that I should perhaps explain some of the technical words because to the photographers in the audience, intentional camera movement might mean something, but for those who are just coming to enjoy the pictures, does not really mean very much. Um, Intentional camera movement is deliberately moving the camera when you are taking the picture. And in my case, I started off joining the group because I really wanted to develop these two techniques of intentional camera movement and also multiple exposure. And multiple exposure is actually overlapping two or more images, either in the camera or after the photos have been taken in software. And the third restriction I put onto myself was trying to make or create these pictures using the phone because I actually didn't have a camera that would allow me to do multiple exposure very well or easily. And I thought, well, I'll see how it goes. You know, two pictures still constitutes multiple exposure. It could be up to 9, as some cameras could do that. And the pictures that you see on the wall, most of them, not all of them, would have been layered up, maybe, you know, 2 or 3 pictures, probably, not that many. So that was the premise of my project. And it really was, I didn't know when we were thinking about it, what I should be doing. And really, it was the inspiration came because I went on a bus journey round belatedly early January to go and see the lights, the Christmas lights in London. However, it was a little bit late because the lights had been switched off. But that sort of from the top of the bus, I sort of got a few photos that I thought, this could work quite well, and I like the colors, and so I think the project started really with the last 2 pictures on this wall, which was sort of taken quite late in the evening, dusk time, and the lights were just were on. Then I thought in creating this project, I thought it would be a really good chance for me to walk around London, go around the different neighborhoods, and practice using these techniques and see what I could find. And as Charlie, I did go to quite a few neighborhoods and made many pictures. Some of them I didn't like very much, and actually there are lots of neighborhoods that are not represented here. And these are what we eventually, with Charlie holding my hand, we chose these to show you. So that's my journey for the year. But I think the most important thing that I've learned this year is that how much one could do if one would be prepared to experiment and to explore the different genres or subject that you've chosen. But it was really, really great fun to be part of the group and see what everyone's been doing, getting inspiration, and also getting the help of Charlie along the way.
I didn't ask anybody I didn't pay any of these guys to say these lovely things. I'm blushing here. Thank you very much, Sim. Yeah, I mean, like I said before, what you see here is just a little touch of the surface. And I mean, you probably can all recognize St. Paul's, but some of these other places you probably won't recognize. And I think that's what's so beautiful about seeing a city or a location through someone else's eyes, but using different techniques as well. So I'm not going to put the cursor on these, Sim. Do you want to tell us where each of these sets were made? So where was this set made here? The ones next to the pink.
I think this set was made in Tate Modern,
Oh wow.
around the area there. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's really, really lovely.
And these ones were made around St. Paul's.
Yep.
So that's St. Paul's there, and I think we decided to put that in, although it was sort of probably more representational than some of the other abstract pictures, because it gave you a starting point of my project.
Yeah, and also
the other two pictures alongside were made around that area of St. Paul's.
Yeah, it's fascinating how you can have images like that next to images like this. And excuse me, and this was part of your journey because you did a workshop in London as well, didn't you? And some of these were made on the workshop. So the learning continues and the experimentation continues with these techniques. Let me just line this up on these ones. Now, these ones are just these, I have to admit, these are my favorites. The colors are just absolutely beautiful. And these are reflections, aren't they, in the water?
Yes, they are. Yeah. They are just a part of a Richmond Park called Isabella Plantation. And I've been there, a few times over the years, because at certain times of year, especially in May, the rhododendrons and the azaleas really flower, and you get loads and loads of people going over there to look. So I have made photos over the years, which are much more representational. But this time when I went, I had in mind that I wanted to very much use the technique and see what I can do, whether I could paint some pictures. And of course, the colors are beautiful, so it was very easy to do that. It came up, really well.
Yeah, I think they're absolutely beautiful. Those pinks are just absolutely stunning. Really, really lovely. And just and what's so interesting about all of these pictures is how, using one technique, the different movements you can sort of adjust to the locations. Very, very different location here. King's Cross, this one here. We are.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. And then those of you that know London might have recognised this one when I was sitting next to it. So I'll just get you lined up in front of it. And this is Battersea, isn't it? This one here.
Yes. And I made loads of pictures, different pictures of Battersea, because obviously it's a sort of brand new development that has gone up and it's been very successful. But it's really interesting because at different times of the day, different how the colors come up when you use that sort of the technique of actually, in a way, dragging your camera.
Yeah, so, yeah, and that was one of the that was one of the challenges you faced, wasn't it? The different light, because you were saying, well, I can go back to the same place, but the light is different every time and the colors are different every time. So how am I meant to make this all sit together?
Exactly, and I had some pink ones and some that were very much more abstract, but there are just lots of different ones depending on the movement, the exposure time. So no, I had really good fun.
Yeah. I absolutely love them. And like, as I said, there's a lot of images that are on behind the scenes that we haven't got to see as well, aren't there? That you had to make your decisions out of. So I think you've done brilliantly to choose just these ones to put on the wall. And I really, really like the fact that you've made the choice to make some little like groups from different places rather than just pick one place, which you also could have done.
Yeah.
But this worked really, really nicely. Super. Thank you so much for sharing those with us, Sim, and for sharing your view of a city that probably none of us ever imagined was there before. And a good tip to go on a bus tour whenever you go somewhere, even in your own home city or your own hometown. It's a great idea. So brilliant. Thank you so much, Sim.
Thanks, Charlie.
Right. Now let me swing round here for the next one here. Right. Now, I think Paulina has joined us. Paulina is a kindred spirit in the creative world because she explores her creativity not only with photography but with art as well. I probably dabble in it even less, not with quite so much prolificness as she does, but it's lovely how she's looked to combine the art and her photography this year. And it was an absolute delight to meet her when she came in on a cruise to Amsterdam. And so I went all the way up to Amsterdam and we had a wander around the city and played with our phones actually around the city of Amsterdam. It was really, really lovely. She always seems to be off somewhere, hiking, exploring, traveling, which is just fantastic. And she's been really exploring her ICM skills this year and the multiple exposures to bring these images together. So Pauline has actually got a two-sided wall, which has allowed her to give you two sort of slightly different views on her project this year. So, Paulina, are you with us this evening?
Yeah, I'm here.
Oh, brilliant. That's fantastic. And you are not at home tonight either, are you?
No, I'm in Mexico.
You're never in the same place.
Someplace warm.
I never get to see you in the same chair twice when we speak on Zoom, so it's always fascinating. So, if you would like to take the floor and tell us all about your project, that would be absolutely lovely.
Okay, yeah. This has been a journey for me. I call these the whole project Whispers of Inspiration. And I have to admit that for the first 6 months till about June, I had no idea what the project was going to be about. I traveled quite a bit and took all kinds of pictures, and nothing really called. It was all okay. And then we had a mentoring session with Charlie. And what I ended up doing is the ones that you're looking at here right now, they're actually a combination of my artwork with ICM photographs. So I layered one on top of the other. Most of them are just two photographs. One of them has like 5 or 6 layers. That was a little bit more complex, but it was very interesting to do this from the point of view that it actually brought together two things that I love to do, and my art and photography, which I hadn't really considered before. So it was really fun to do. So and I do like to take pictures of trees a lot, and so that one is woodlands in Scotland, actually. And that's just a 2-layered one with the painting behind it. It's an abstract, but it kind of looks like a cathedral at the back. So the two went well together. It's not simple to find a photograph and a painting that go together well. So that takes a bit of exploration to do. Yeah, this one it's actually pretty close to the same place as before. It's just a different painting behind it. And yeah, and this is the one that has 4 or 5 layers to it. The actual picture was actually quite, it was a dull day in the mountains, but with the painting behind it, it brings all the yellows and the light into the forest and stuff. Yeah.
That one
Yeah.
reminds me of fireflies in the woodland, that one, Pauline. I think it's just beautiful.
Yeah, I like that one the best. That's one of my favorites. Yeah. Yeah. And these are they're more water. The one on the left is I live in Western Canada, so this is in the Rockies. So that's Moraine Lake, a place where I go to every year, which has gotten extremely busy nowadays with a lot of tourists. So it's very hard to get up there, but I make it once a year. So, and this is, yeah.
Brilliant.
So I do, okay, I'm running out of words.
No, that's all right. I was going to say, do you normally pick a painting and think which pictures you can bring to it, or do you make a photo and then wonder how you can add texture or color to it with the painting? Is there a
I take I actually take the ICM photograph, and then kind of think which paintings I have that might go with it, and then I have to play with 2 or 3 to see how they go, and sometimes they don't go at all. And the one in the middle, it's just it's the water, but the painting behind is quite loud and goes all over the place. But it came out really nice. Yeah.
It's really hard, isn't it? Because when you have 2 elements and you think, yeah, they could work, sometimes they really fight with each other, don't they? And you have to either kind of go, okay, you 2 don't belong together because you won't play nicely, or you have to figure out how to balance it up.
Yeah, you do, and the coloring of each one of them is quite it's quite hard sometimes to mix both of them together. Yeah. So
yeah, and I just love the quote that we got here. My camera is my paintbrush, the magic wand that allows me to flow and dance with the colors, the emotion and the energy of creation. That's an absolutely beautiful, beautiful quote that you've written there. So now we're going to go around the other side of the wall here. If I can manage to make my way around here. I feel a bit like a robot going around the corner. Right. And then I can sort of line up for your other set, which is quite, well, not quite different, but it's similar. But these ones aren't bringing the paintings into these ones, are they? These are more ICM.
No, these are just straight ICM, just one photograph for each one. So I've tried for some of these to do longer exposure, so that I still like to see what is there and just give it an impression of what I'm seeing. This is again Moraine Lake, same as the one that you saw on the other side where the feet were. So they are quite slow exposure to take them. And then the other ones are fireweeds. These ones were a little more complex to get the photographs done, mostly because I had to hike up 10 kilometers each time to go and take the photographs. And the first time I went, they were not ready. The second time they were a little better, and the third time, well, that's what there is. So yeah, it took a little while to do.
Yep.
And and the middle one is in a different location, and I really like that one. I don't know how. I went back to the same location to try to get the same feeling or the same idea, but there's no way that I could replicate that at all.
No.
At all.
That is the frustrating thing about intentional camera movement. Sometimes it's just the way you feel on the day that you make it. There's just no way you can replicate that feeling that you had that day you were there, or the light. But they're absolutely beautiful. And then your last one, of course, is not made in America at all, is it?
Oh no, that's in Scotland. The bluebells in Scotland, Kinclaven, and I had a picture of this for 2 to 3 years, and I said I have to go there, and we went there and just hoping that they would be ready on time, and we hit it right exactly at its best. It was just stunning. It was really beautiful. This looks gorgeous, and just it's
Yeah.
I don't
It's
know.
yeah, you and
It
I,
just captures. Yeah.
yeah, you and I
Yeah.
both got lucky with the bluebells this year, didn't we? So
Yeah.
it,
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
luck, they were a little bit earlier this year, but this is just beautiful, and the light is just absolutely lovely. Two very, very different sets of images, but it's absolutely beautiful to see the way that you're bringing the ICM and the artwork together. And is that an ongoing project for you now, Pauline? Are you keen on that, or is it even more frustrating than just trying to do ICM on its own?
Well, I have to paint more now, so because in order to have paintings to put together with the ICM, I need a little bit more work, right?
Yeah.
So I'm hopeful that I'll be home more next year, so
Yeah.
that I can do more actual artwork. Like,
Yeah.
so yeah, yeah.
Fantastic. Brilliant. Well, it's been absolutely lovely to see those images of yours and also have a little tour around some of the places that you've been. Really, really lovely. And again, another lovely quote here. What inspires you? What excites you? What makes you feel alive? The magic of nature does this for me. And you've heard from a couple of people this evening all about nature being involved in their projects. So thank you so much for that, Paulina. Absolutely lovely to see the images.
Well, thank you, Charlie, for all your work this year. I wouldn't have been able to do it without you.
Oh, I'm sure you would.
Oh, no. Well, thank you.
Thank you very much. Right now, Sean is here on the wall, and unfortunately, Sean is not with us this evening, so he has very trustingly left it to me to present it to you. Now, I've been working with Sean for quite a while, and it's fair to say that he would probably have actually kind of self-confessed himself to being a purist landscape photographer. And certainly when I first met him, he is one of those people that uh, he's one of those people that actually managed to get out of bed really early in the morning, like a proper landscape photographer, which I just failed to do. But that had become what he loved to do, but where he'd become stuck. And so since I've been working with him, we've been looking to explore different possibilities of ways of getting excited with his photography and also explore other possibilities. Now, certainly this project was not the project that Sean started out and necessarily with the beginning of the year. However, the first picture that he did take of this project was taken before the course, so there was some kind of an inkling of an idea in there. So uh, basically what he wanted to do from this year was just really move out of his comfort zone, get that spark of excitement with his camera, and explore possibilities. And so I really encouraged everyone at the beginning of the year to explore what they loved. And see if that could be brought into their photography. And Sean really, really embraced this. So back in 2023, Sean started to photograph the swans at Johnston Castle in County Wexford. It was an escape for him and a chance to um, explore something that he found fascinating and beautiful. And over the year, he's followed the journey of a number of swans, photographing the beautiful changes that he's seen over the year. And we have what you see is just a very, very small part, but we have been treated to all kinds of swan photos this year. It's just been absolutely lovely. And he also decided quite early on to work with squares and in black and white as an element of cohesivity to bring the set together. So that's been really, really fantastic to see. And I think you'll see when you go around how beautifully these sets work. Now I'm just going to center on the middle of each set here because these are actually sets of 3 images. And it's really interesting because we've had some really different ways of looking at seasonal changes or ways that things change during the year. And you've got another really interesting project to come that as well, that people haven't just gone, okay, there's 4 seasons in the year or there's 4 stages. Everybody's really pushed the boundaries and explored how they can put their own stamp on it. And Sean was one of these as well. And so what he's chosen is to try and portray the three, or he's picked three stages of the life of a swan, from cygnets right through to the beauty. And if you read his artist statement, you'll see that he refers to the ugly duckling story, which we all know and love. But he's chosen to split these into three groups. And the first group you see here is called endemic. If you go to the I button on any of these pictures, there's a little bit more of an explanation about what the vision is for each of these. But he wanted to portray the untouched, unblemished, and simplicity of young life, basically. And so you can kind of see the way that these words relate to human life as well, from being very, just exploring the world, but also still needing mum or dad there to hang on to when needed be, and also the relationship between the siblings as well, because obviously the cygnets stick together, and yeah, it's really, really lovely. So the bond of these is really lovely, but also to the parents. So you've got this lovely set of these images, and it just really, the different choices that he made. We had a whole session and trying to decide which of the 8 he was going to use as his set of 3 was a really lovely challenge. But again, it's just really, really lovely to see. He's worked on these really, really hard to bring out what he wanted to say with these elements. So the next set, after these beautiful fluffy cygnets, did I call them goslings a minute ago? I feel really awful if I did. The next one we have is juvenescence. Now, juvenescence is the age of innocence. Sorry, the age of youthfulness and growing up. I get this right. And so here, what you see in these images is the transformative stage. And you see that Sean's managed to capture that mid-stage between duckling and beautiful swan. And it's really, the images are chosen to accentuate the sort of fragility and insecurity of growing up. And it's just, he's done this really, really beautifully with the way he's studied the swans while he's been photographing. I really, really love how you've got these shapes of the swans almost being a little bit shy in here, whether they knew the camera was there or not. But you can imagine these as almost models. And that's what I think you get from this set, is that you could almost imagine these swans being models in these photos, the way that the light works on them and the beautiful way that the black and white works as well. So that's a really, really lovely set as well. And then his third set here, sorry, let me go into the middle here, is Serpentine. And so the last set is the age of maturity, and aiming to show the beauty, the lines and the forms and the grace of the adult swan. I was amazed when we were looking at these. They almost look human to me. They almost look like a ballet dancer. This kind of depicts almost Swan Lake to me. I think it's just absolutely beautiful. And the forms and the lines, and calling this group Serpentine, I thought really the forms and the lines and the shapes really evoked that descriptive word. And so it really, really shows the beauty in the shape, and this emerging sort of the emergence of this lovely, lovely swan at the end. And lastly, the last picture that we have here is the Serpentine Maiden Flight. And so you have this beautiful swan flying off out of the picture, out of the series, because that's what's the amazing thing. Sean tried to follow these swans through the whole year, and sometimes he'd come back and he said, I couldn't find them. And other times he'd say, I found them again, I know where they are. Sometimes he spent hours, other times they literally would hang around for 5 minutes and go. He also managed to get quite close to these swans as well over the year by visiting them a number of times. And this is a project that he plans to continue, to fill in the gaps and continue exploring in this location, because it's something he's really, really got into enjoying. Again, very, very different from the original landscape work, but I think you will agree with me that the way that he's brought these images together, and presented them, is absolutely beautiful. The squares and the black and white is so simple. Absolutely beautiful set. And I'm really sorry that Sean couldn't be with us here tonight, but he has an otherwise a busy engagement. So I hope you enjoyed that from Sean. Right, now round the corner, I can get myself organized here. This is why some of you might be going, I'm definitely going to take the guided tour, not try and do it on my own. So the guided tour is great. It just takes you around each thing step by step. It's really, really wonderful. Now, on this wall here, we have Judith. Now, Judith's another individual I've had the pleasure to meet, not just once, but twice out in Scotland. And then she came to my exhibition in London as well. Judith's got a love of creating and exploring, and we've seen this in the group this year. The exploration and sort of experimentation has been fantastic. Again, another one who's very prolific in her creation. There's not many days that go by when Judith hasn't shared something new or knew something she's been trying out. And certainly this year she started exploring how to bring images together in multiple exposure to say what she wanted, sort of in Photoshop. But this has kind of like changed tack a little bit during the year, because she's progressed towards cyanotype creations, which no doubt she's going to tell you about. I have learned so much from Judith this year because the images you're going to see on the wall will amaze and surprise you, because if any of you thought that cyanotypes were blue and white and just had to be leaves, you are in for a real treat. So the journey this year has been fantastic, where she's come from, where she's going to. Are you there, Judith, to tell us all about it?
I am here, Charlie, and thank you. I actually just want to to commend you for your patience with me and your encouragement with me throughout this year, through all my false starts and all of my experiments and trying all these new things out. Charlie encouraged us from the beginning to follow what we were passionate about. And then she had to convince me that these cyanotypes were perfectly acceptable as a very different form of photography. So I will tell you about the process, but I wanted to start really with the name of my project, which is Elemental Alchemy, because the original idea behind this project started when my husband and I were building an extension to our home, and on the floor we put slate tile. And the slate, and I'm not sure whereabouts the slate source is for this particular tile, but it's very colorful. It was reds and yellows and blues in with the slate gray, greens even. And I just was fascinated by these colors and this texture. So what I did is, in order to work with these colors and texture, which really where it started, I decided to continue playing around with what I had been doing before, just as a hobby, which was creating cyanotypes. And as Charlie said, typically your cyanotypes, you take two chemicals. There's a potassium ferrocyanide and a ferric ammonium citrate. They're not particularly harmful chemicals. And you brush them onto paper and let them dry. And you do your developing for this in the sun. So they need UV light to develop. And what I did is I used the slate tiles and experimented with different papers to try to get the contours from the tile to become apparent in the images that I was creating, or these pieces on paper. And then I started to play with the concentrations of the two chemicals and finding out I was able to pull up browns and yellows and the greens and way more than just blue. And to these cyanotypes, liquids, and putting solutions on paper, adding things like lemon juice and vinegar, salt, soap bubbles. And when I felt like I needed more bold color, I would use some earth pigments in their powdered form, or mixing them with water, and sort of painted this onto these papers. And so the images you're seeing here are either the images that are the pieces I created, or parts of that. So I photographed parts of some of these images, and I started to see the elements that had come from the original idea with the slate, because the colors and the textures, and for me, the earth and the fire and the water and the air all seem to be represented in these, images that I took. Occasionally, I'd have to take them into Photoshop, the image, and maybe clean up a little bit, or emphasize colors or areas that I felt were important for that piece. But I had a real enjoyment of this process, and I really would like to say, out of maybe everything that I have accomplished, without the support of this group and without the support of Charlie, I wouldn't have got this far. And I feel like I'm only just beginning on this journey. So thank you, Charlie.
It's been a wonderful journey of exploration so far, and I can only imagine the more you learn, the more you want to learn as well, don't you?
It's very true, and I'm learning things I don't like, and which you do, right? You just keep experimenting, and I think it was the freedom to experiment, but the deadline, the goal. I had to really, I really wanted to continue with this and not keep changing my mind on what to do. And I'm just really glad I did, because I love doing these works. I love the process. I have some ideas of where to take it next. So
I think it's absolutely fantastic. I mean, like, I would never have imagined using like tissue paper instead of like just plain old the paper that they suggest you use to start with. It's kind of almost like about, do you feel like you're rule breaking when you do this? Because
I am absolutely rule breaking. You can see the texture from the tissue paper on some of those, like the previous one, and that was from the slate. Yeah. And the tissue paper, the first time I did it, I had it out in the sun too long, and the tissue paper just bonded itself to the slate. So I had to photograph and then just rinse it off. It's gone. And like I say, some of these are just pieces of the final print, and some of them are the actual print. And what I'm finding as well is that I don't rinse my cyanotypes, which is a traditional cyanotype. Part of the process is to rinse everything off these. And I haven't done that because I want these colors to stay bold. And what I'm noticing is they do continue to change. If they're in sunshine, they can fade, and then you have to take them in the dark again to bring color back. So it's really, it's a fascinating process. And I've really enjoyed doing them.
That's amazing. And yours were another set that we walked through, and you see certain things in them, don't you? And I see certain things in them. I was just looking at this one, and this reminds me of like almost of being in a cave and having cave paintings and daubs of paint on the wall. I think it's absolutely fantastic. And the last one we've got here reminds me of an intergalactical space photo, to be honest. I think it's just fantastic. And I hope like anybody sat there watching right now is going, oh my goodness, I had no idea that's what cyanotypes could be. And if it all came back to, when Judah said, can I actually put this on the wall? I said, of course, because I think part of this is actually the journey has been as important as what's actually gone on the wall at the end of the year here. And the journey was this move from doing everything in Photoshop, wasn't it, right at the beginning, to actually making it happen in the physical process. And it's really hands-on now, isn't it, rather than just trying to pull things together. You can actually make it happen as it happens, essentially.
You can, and I'm finding too that as the print is developing in the sun, if I take photographs along the way, every print that's out there has the possibility of having 20 different prints. The colors change as it develops, and you don't have to have the whole print. You can get pieces of it, and it's a fascinating process. And it's just the paint. The paint is really just these two solutions that have been used for a long time, since the late 1800s, to create blueprints. And here you just have to experiment and play and use them in non-traditional ways, break the rules. That's the idea.
Yeah. That whole idea of me not putting exactly the same amount of both together just freaks me out. So I would love to be doing this, but I'm like, oh, it might not work. Well, what happens? What
No,
happens when
it's
you try and see it? It certainly works to not work. I think it's an absolutely brilliant example of experimentation and just seeing what if and what happens. I think it's just wonderful, and I cannot wait to see where these images go and how much that more they develop, or how the project
yeah.
continues. I think it's like you say, you're just getting started.
I feel as though I am, and where it'll take me, I don't know, but I'm really enjoying the ride. So thank you.
Brilliant. No, it's absolutely lovely. And do go and have a really good look at these when you come back into the exhibition, because they're absolutely beautiful. Right, last but not least, I always say, the two worst places to be when you're doing a presentation are either first or last. And some people have a preference for being last, and some people have a preference for being first, and most people have a preference for being somewhere in the middle, to be fair. So Caroline has waited very patiently till the end. So last but not least, I have the delight and the privilege to introduce Caroline to you and her work. We all know that trying to fit photography into our busy lives is a challenge. And so many of us bite off more than we can chew. So many of us say, oh, I need to go to such and such to photograph, or I need to do this to photograph, or I need to do this. And that's what puts the sort of boundary point. That's what stops you from actually going and doing it, because it becomes too much for you. It becomes too much of a challenge, and you lose that enjoyment. And that's what I've really encouraged everybody this year to do, is embrace what they really, really enjoy and find a passion about. So I think for Caroline, she's really, really embraced that absolutely perfectly at the beginning of the year. She knew right from the start that her time was precious and that she needed to find a project that she would really love. And so what she's done this year is combine two of her favorite loves, her garden and her photography. And I just, again, what you see is a tiny snippet. And not only are her photos amazing, the journals that Caroline has created during this year, I'm sure there is not one person in this group with her that has not gone, oh my gosh, you could frame the journals, Caroline. You don't even need to put the photos on the wall, because the journals have been inspirational, colourful, energy, passion. I have absolutely loved seeing those. So, let's is that good enough introduction for you, Caroline, or have I put you too high up there and you're like panicking now?
I've been panicking all the way through watching
Oh.
everybody else's beautiful. How can I follow the previous nine?
You can definitely follow, because in your images in your own right, and your project is unique. So if you'd like to talk us through whatever you would like to talk us through, and then I will help you uh, have a look at the project further.
Yeah. I knew at the beginning of the year that I wanted to concentrate on something very close to home, because I've always been passionate that you should be finding things like beauty exactly where you are. And if you don't find it where you are, you're probably never going to. And I also started to think about the I don't make New Year's resolutions, I choose a word. And the word I chose for this year was content or contentment. And I wanted to tie those two things together. Now, my garden is not a typical garden. We don't have nice formal laid out beds. We've always wanted to encourage wildlife and encourage birds and butterflies and bees, etc. So we let lots of it grow wild. And listening to the things Charlie suggested at the beginning of the year, I spent time just sat in the garden, soaking it in without taking photographs, without doing much writing, although occasionally I'd scribble in my journals. And I realised that I wanted the project to be just about the back of the garden and about the things I was feeling and seeing when I was in there. Now, I'd expected, especially with it being Charlie, to do a wonderfully creative project with ICM and multiple exposures and all kinds of things. But the more I looked at the photographs I wanted, the more I realized I had to keep it really simple. In order to get that emotional feeling, everything needed to be intimate. So although with the hundreds and hundreds of photographs I've taken, I do have some ICM and various other things. The photographs I've chosen for tonight are all straight photographs, more or less. And again, during the year, I realized that we talk about spring, summer, autumn, winter as if one follows the other and there's nice cut-off points. But there isn't. Your spring flowers are coming up, they're beginning to grow during the edge of winter, and they come to the fullness in spring, and they're resting in the summer. But your summer flowers are just starting to grow at the end of spring. And it's almost like different flowers have different cycles. And I realized I didn't want to look at spring, summer, autumn, winter. And I split it up into nurture, which was the underpinning the whole year, and then expectation and growing, life, fruiting, rest. And as I started to look at the different categories and and I renamed these categories so many times, is it life or is it blooming? And is it fruitfulness or is it fullness? And I went through so many different names for them. But what I've really realized is that nature's got its own time, and everything, the plants grow when they're meant to grow and they grow how they're meant to grow. And in the end, I've got pictures of nurture, pictures of growth, of life, of fruitfulness, and of rest. And I decided that although they might not necessarily be the best pictures that I've taken during the project, I wanted to put on the walls two from each section just to give an overall idea. And I have to admit, I did a bit of writing as well. As you can see, there's two extra things on the wall. And I love words. And although I've tried to keep the project very simple, I did end up having to write as well, because that's what came when I was sat in the garden, all laid on the paths, trying to photograph things that were hiding underneath and behind other things.
Fantastic. It's been an absolute joy to experience your journey, and I absolutely love the way that you've divided this year up. And I think it's really fascinating, to think about the sort of plants in waiting almost. They're ready to come through, and you only get to see them when they decide to appear. But just they've been waiting there. And the same with summer, I think some of the beautiful, I mean, I love tulips when tulips die because their forms are just so beautiful after they die. But they have that ongoing, that rest period, don't they? Because
Yeah.
all the plants rest and they have to rest before they come back again. It's just really, really lovely. And you should not apologize for writing, Caroline, because I know how pleasurable it can be to write about things and relate it to the photos. And we've got two lovely poems on the wall here, which again, you had to just pick two out of all the probably many you've made, but that they kind of go between the two sort of areas that you've picked, don't they? So
Yeah.
that's really, really lovely. So these are like, I just love this peeping through. It's absolutely fantastic. And
That's
I
in my
think,
wood pile.
yes,
It was just a little shoot in the wood pile, and yeah,
yeah,
I had to get it.
yeah, I think so. I absolutely love this. I think that the green, the ferns, and I don't think you should do yourself any disservice by saying these aren't like creative photos, because I couldn't take a photo like this if I tried, probably because I wouldn't even think of getting on the floor to start with. But I just think the depth of field and the what you've seen and what you've noticed, and you're absolutely right about finding beauty on your own doorstep, and actually, being able to appreciate this beauty that's right there in front of you. If you can enjoy that, then the world is your oyster. I think it's just absolutely beautiful. And these two are so fresh, these images. And I know this one's your favorite, isn't it? This one.
Yeah. The
Yeah.
one with the butterfly is by far my favorite. I've been using it as my Facebook profile as well.
It's
I never realized until I looked at that photo just how much butterflies were fluffy.
yes. Yeah, it's not one of the things you think about, is it? Until you,
No.
yeah, they are quite fluffy, and then the beautiful light on this one. It's just
Mm.
absolutely gorgeous, really, really lovely. And then this
Yeah.
set
I've
of,
always been afraid of light, and
okay,
yeah, been kind of, oh well, the light will do what it does. But I've really learnt to pay attention to it this year.
yeah. Yeah, and really embraced it in the images and
Mm.
used these ones are a really good example of that at the end here about really focusing and seeing where the light's falling and making the most of it. Such simple images, but so beautiful. Like, I always strive to show people things that I think they've missed, and I think you're doing the same thing here, is to show how the absolute simplest thing can be so beautiful. It's just absolutely fantastic. And obviously loads and loads of pictures. Are you going to does this project continue, or what's the plan for it?
I'm the plan is that I will be putting it into a photo book,
Oh yes, yeah,
and I've I will be taking a few more pictures for the rest section. Um, and I've got a few that I still need to process. I went, wasn't technically ICM because it wasn't so much the camera that was moving, but I went out when it was really high wind and
okay,
captured one of the trees moving a lot.
yeah,
And I thought it's sort of ICM because I'm intending it to get it the movement, but I'm really happy with some of those photos.
yeah,
But no, I'm going to finish some of the writing that I wanted to do and try and pull it together into a photo book.
yeah,
Um, I may also look at doing a little bit more creative editing with some of the prints as well.
yeah.
But I want to get it into one book for myself.
Good luck. It's fantastic, but
I may be booking a one-on-one at some point.
I shall look forward to it.
But
I
no,
think it's
I've
just
had a wonderful year
yeah,
doing it. It's been a really stressful year personally, and the time in the garden, just relaxing with this, has been amazing,
yeah,
and it's really been what I needed. And
yeah,
I didn't know that at the beginning when I chose to do it, but it's worked out that really well. And your encouragement and the encouragement of the group, because I felt, oh, I'm doing something that's really simple, and no, but the project called for that.
yeah.
And you've all encouraged me to go with what the project calls for.
Yeah, yeah. I think it's beautiful. And as you can see this evening, just because you do one of these project groups does not mean you have to do ICM. And
Mm,
I think it's a real challenge. I personally find it challenging to share work that's not ICM because I think that's what everybody expects me to see. And I think obviously there's a certain expectation that when you join the project group, you have to do ICM because that's what I do. But honestly, I am there to support you in whatever you want to do, explore, see whatever. And I think there's such diversity with this group and the other group on the walls that I hope you've really, really seen some massive variation in the work. Thank you very much for sharing that with us, Caroline. It's really, really lovely. Now, I am aware because the group's a little bit bigger, we're just taking a little bit longer tonight. So I'm just going to finish by telling you, everybody, you've heard such lovely things that everybody said about us this evening, about their classmates and about me as well. But if you want to see what some of these guys have said about the course and their experience, this last wall in the exhibition is just some of their descriptions of what they got out of the year and what they felt, which is really, really lovely. Now, I'm just going to stop the share and I'm going to see if I can manage to get this link into if I can manage to uh, pick up that link there and pop it into your chat so that if anybody wants to copy this out of the chat while we're in there, then you've got that there. I need to make sure I'm not just messaging one person tonight, which is what I did the other night. I'm hoping that's it. There. Can you let me know if you guys can all see that link? Is that okay? Yeah, brilliant. I ended up sending it to one person the other night. So I've learned from my mistake. It's been an absolute wonderful evening with you guys. Has anybody, before we head off, has anybody got any questions they would like to ask any of the those that were presenting this evening about anything at all? Well, not about anything at all, but probably related to their projects would be good. No. Hopefully it's all been you've had so much information, and I hope you've really, really enjoyed um Lou's, is that Lou's website? Lost website, Lou's website. If you go on to any of the I buttons on any of the pictures, you will find if I think Lou's got her website in the, unless Lou wants to drop it in, unless Lou wants to drop it in the chat. But if you go onto any of her pictures and click on the I button, you will find the link to Lou's website, and you will also find the links to any Instagram pages or anything that people would like you to go to look further. Certainly, Tiago's got his linking to his work further, as well as a number of these other guys have done. If they're on social media and they've decided they'd like to share it with you, if you just go onto the I button, you'll be able to go in and find it. Lou's just popped it in there anyway for you, so you can go in there and have a look. And she'll be running trips to France to the Cevennes next year. Or not, maybe. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for joining me. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you all here. Thank you to the group for being so confident and lovely and sharing all of your experiences. It's been an absolute joy. I look forward to seeing some of you here this evening next year on the course. And thank you very much and have a lovely evening. Thanks very much for joining me, guys. Thank you. Good night.